Is what you do on your phone any different than what you do on your computer? If you're a normal person, the answer to that is no. That's why Microsoft is trying to make your laptop closer to your phone. This is great news for everyone if they do it right. And I know what you're thinking, Jean-Pierre, but I'm happy with my computer. Why should I care, Alfie? Oh, snap, Dragon. I'm glad you freaking asked. Phone chips coming to Windows is great for everyone for 3 reasons. Number 1, better battery life. Phones have teeny tiny little batteries. And so to get around that restriction, phone makers have had to get very creative. From optimizing the software to hell and back so that it kills every single app that's using too much power, to optimizing the hardware, designing the chips that run the phone so that they sip as little power as possible. In contrast, PC architectures are made to work all the way from 1 watt to 400 watts. That's the difference between a tiny LED and a massive chandelier. Phone chips are focused on low power draw. And last year, we sold more than 1 billion phones. Compared to laptops that sold 50 million, that's a lot more money going around for developing efficient phone chips. The brutal competition in smartphones has led us to a world in which phones can last several days, whereas laptops, you're lucky if you get an afternoon. So putting a phone chip inside of your laptop could mean better battery life. Okay, but that's just the theory, right? I have an example. In 2020, Apple started using the same chips they use in their iPhones inside of their laptops. This has led to significant improvements in the laptop's power efficiency, and number 2, it has made the laptop more powerful. Wait, why would it be more powerful? If it's more power efficient, surely that means it's less powerful, right? Nope, not in this case. A high-end chip from a phone 2.5 years ago has a similar performance to a laptop chip from back in 2020, despite it drawing much less power. Is that because they're more advanced? In that comparison, yes, but that's not all. Phone chips and laptop chips speak fundamentally different languages. Phones speak using ARM, and laptops speak using x86. So to break it down, ARM is a very simple language. It's got 50 or so letters in its alphabet, and you can chain these letters together to get words. So these words, for example, would be turn on or turn off the screen, and much more complex things. ARM, huh? I've got one of those. So, does the language that they speak affect the chip's performance? Yes, ARM is very, very efficient, since you're using the full alphabet, and there's not many letters that are not useful. In contrast, x86, or traditional laptop chips, have more than 1,500 letters. It's a very complex language. Okay. So why would I want all that complexity if ARM is more efficient? Well, for the most part, you don't. Each language has its advantages, and x86 has many. But for most people, as I said at the start, you do the same things on your computer that you would do on your phone. For that use case, ARM chips are more powerful than laptop chips. At least in the present day. Number 3. It'll make your laptops cheaper. Even low-end phones nowadays are a pretty great experience. I mean, they can go for less than 200 USD, and you'll have a good camera, you'll have a good processor, you won't feel like anything's too slow. Cheap laptops, on the other hand, they suck. I mean, laggy start menus, delays when you type, terrible screens, bad battery life. It's not a fun experience to use anything less than 400 or 500 USD. Alright, but that's not exactly fair. Of course it's more expensive. I mean, look at this. It's way bigger and there's way more things. You have a display, you have a keyboard, you have a trackpad, so it makes sense that it would be more expensive. Okay, chips aren't the only reason that cheap laptops suck. I mean, build quality obviously is one, but even now, current low-end chips from Intel and AMD are not using the latest technology. They can cost from $50 to $150 US, but they're barely good enough for general computing. In contrast, The cost of a high-end chip for a Samsung flagship phone is $160, and that chip can run circles around those low-end Intel and AMD chips. Competition is good, no matter where you stand. And if Microsoft is able to pull this transition to ARM off successfully, then the market is open for lots of competitors to make more affordable chips. Wait, why do you say if? That sounds ominous. Well, Microsoft has already tried to do this transition several times before. First time back in 2013, and the second in 2019. So let me get this straight. If it's got all the advantages you say, why did it not work back then? Well, it's not as simple as switching the processor and you're done. Wait, why not? Well, think of it like you would think of it switching languages in real life. And there are certain words that you don't know, and for a certain period of time, while you get used to it and reprogram your brain, well, you'll need an interpreter. That's the same case for applications as well. Not all of them speak this new language, and getting them to run smoothly on these ARM chips was a huge challenge back in the day. Okay, but you just told me that most of what we do on computers is dead simple. Most does not mean all. And last time around, professional apps and even some basic apps were not running properly on these brand new ARM computers. That wasn't the only issue. I mean, those last ones didn't have the same battery life and power improvements that we're discussing today. In practice, they were just worse laptops with less compatibility, so no one in their right mind would actually want one of those. Alright, but why would things be any different this time around? Well, it seems like the chips right now are better than they were back in 2019. The apps have a better interpreter, and other partners are jumping onto the bandwagon, which they didn't do last time. So some of the largest manufacturers in the world have announced that they'll be launching high-end laptops using these chips in the coming months. Besides, the numbers coming out of Microsoft look good, though obviously we need to take them with a grain of sand and do some independent testing. I'm cautiously optimistic that this transition with this new translation layer and this support from Microsoft might actually take place properly. Alright, that's cool for all you Windows folks out there, but I've actually been using a Mac in disguise. Why should I care? Well, if Windows laptops become more attractive, then Apple also has to compete harder. Right now, Apple just dominates in terms of performance to battery life. Having Microsoft chips inside of Windows laptops mean more competition. That's why, all in all, Microsoft putting in phone chips inside of their computers is great news for everyone. If you're a Mac user, you have more competition. If you're an Intel or AMD user, well, they'll have more competition, so you'll have better chips. And if you want more battery life or better computers, then maybe you might be interested in one of those ARM chips. Well, I wouldn't go for the first generation of these products. As with many things will be ironed out in the next generation. So if you're interested in coverage of these second generation chips as they come out, make sure you're subscribed and let me know what you think of ARM chips coming to laptops and other applications that ARM can have in the tech space. In the meantime, I think that's the end of this week's Tech Asia. I've been Alfie, and till the next episode, take care.